Back in episode 114, I told you our NoFence collars had arrived and what we were hoping they'd open up. Today I want to give you the first real field report, what's working, what we had to work through, what the Sagebrush looks like after the goats have been in it, and why this tool is changing what's possible on this ranch. This is a progress report, not a verdict, but so far, it's better than we imagined. Let's get to it. Hey there, welcome to GoatWise. I'm Millie Bradshaw, animal scientist and rancher. Here we talk meat goats, feeding strategies, goat fencing, and livestock management that holds up in real life. If you care about raising goats well and building systems that actually work, you're in the right place. Let's talk livestock. If this podcast has been helpful, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Scroll down to ratings and reviews, tap the stars, and leave a few sentences. It helps more serious livestock producers find the show, and I read every one of them. Then go grab the free kidding due date chart at goatwise.com/kidding-chart. That also gets you on the insider email list, and the link is in the show notes. Here's what's happening on the ranch. We had some rain over the past couple days. Saturday night was a pretty good storm with a lot of lightning. So far, I'm not seeing any fire reports, which is a relief. Weaning is going well. The does were loud for a few days, but they're settling down. I've been intentionally grazing them in the direction away from where the kids are penned, so they can't hear each other as much. The does are starting to dry up, and they're just doing their thing out in the sagebrush. We're watching for mastitis, but we typically don't have much of a mastitis problem here. And I finally got my cement mixer running and mixed up 425 pounds of mineral this week. We are stocked up, and I will say that cement mixer is a game changer for mineral mixing. All right, let's do a virtual fence update. We are grazing in places we have never been able to realistically graze the goats before, and it's wonderful. We have about 250 acres of sagebrush on this place that has just been inaccessible with electric netting. There's not enough feed in between the brush to justify the time it takes to put netting up and move it. And now we're in there. 105 does, 2 wethers, and 2 livestock guardian dogs out in the sagebrush, one day at a time, and I want to tell you what we're seeing. But before I get into it, I want to give you the legal stuff. I bought NoFence with my own money. I was not sponsored. I just think this is a genuinely incredible tool for reducing labor, accessing hard-to-graze areas, and hopefully cutting winter feed costs. I now have an affiliate code. Bradshaw Graze 10. Capitalization matters, uppercase B in Bradshaw and uppercase G in Graze. That gets you 10% off. I'll drop the link and the code in the show notes. I do get a small commission from that, and everything I'm about to tell you is my honest experience, including the things that went wrong. Let me start with the challenges, because there were real ones. Before we ever put the virtual fence collars on the does, many of the kids were old enough that they were starting to run off to play and explore within a big group of just kids. And when we collared the does, that behavior didn't change except when we moved to a new pasture, and then they would stay closer to their moms for a few days and then start wandering again outside of the virtual boundary because they don't have collars on. The dogs can't follow them because the dogs are restricted to the boundary. That created a real predator risk, especially with coyotes actively moving around us during pup weaning season. We saw a coyote in daylight within 100 yards of the night trap more than once. We couldn't manage that situation during Fair Week, so we brought everyone in and gave ourselves time to think it through. We ended up deciding to wean the kids early. I don't think early weaning is ideal, and I don't want it to become a requirement of the system long term. What I believe may happen next year when the does kid with collars already on and we're moving them every few days, the kids are going to naturally stay closer to their moms. I could be wrong. We just don't know yet how that plays out, and I'm okay with that. We're going to do it and see. The other thing we had to work through was collar fit. We had two does at two separate times get a front leg up and through the collar. The first one we caught right away. Saw it, caught her, got the leg out, tightened the collar, done. The second one was harder. She was a little wild and she hid. I actually saw her laying out in the brush when I was driving past on the way to an appointment and thought, that's odd. I wonder why she's laying there. And then I forgot about it. The next day, we got a reduced activity alert from her collar on the app while we were in the city. We got home late and I didn't go check. The day after that, Ray and Darcy found her while we were moving the herd, leg still caught. She'd been like that for a few days. That was hard on her. We got her out, brought her to the barn, put her in the shade. A couple of days later, she was back to herself. That's not a problem with the collars, that was a fit problem, and fit is something you learn. You put the collars on, check them, adjust as needed. We adjusted both of those does and haven't had a problem since. There's a related thing worth knowing. We had one or two does that were getting a lot of pulses, more than they should have been. That usually means the collar isn't making consistent contact and the doe isn't feeling the signal the way she should. We tightened those collars and their behavior came right in line with what a properly fitted collar looks like. If a doe seems to be getting pulsed more than expected, check the fit before you assume anything else is wrong. And on the reduced activity alert, that was the system doing its job. I just didn't respond to it in time. Pay attention to those alerts. They usually mean something. Now, let me tell you what's actually happening out there. The NoFence app has a heat map feature. Think of it a little like Doppler radar. The collars check in and register location roughly every 15 minutes on the app, and each check-in generates a green dot on the map at that animal's location. Where they spend a lot of time, the dots stack up. Zoom in close and you'll see a yellow outline where they've concentrated. Zoom out and the dense areas turn red. So you can see at a glance where they've been, how thoroughly they've covered an area, and where the pressure has been highest. I'm sharing some of those screenshots on Instagram stories at Dry Creek Pastures if you're interested. While the collars register location on the app every 15 minutes, the GPS is actually working all the time. As animals get near a boundary, it's watching them closely, updating once per second and even as fast as 4 times per second. When I look at the heat map right now, zoomed out to see the whole pasture on my phone, it is almost entirely red. There are some green areas, but not many. That tells me our stocking rate is right for the amount of forage we have in that area and our impact goals. They're covering it well by the end of the grazing session. And they're coming in on their own. We turn them out in the morning, right around sunrise, somewhere between 6:45 and 7:15 a.m., and by about 11 o'clock, they come in and bed down on their own. If they've got a good fill, that's what they'll do. They get a drink, lay there for 3 or 4 hours, chew their cud, get up around 2 and go back out to graze. Around 7:30 p.m., they come in again. I close the gate on them. Water and mineral are in the night trap. They're just learning the routine and doing their thing. On pasture design, we started with pastures that were roughly twice as long as they were wide. But as we moved further into the sagebrush and needed to reach areas further away from the night traps, I started stretching them out, long and narrow, probably 700 or 800 feet long and about 100 feet wide. The reason is that goats have an instinctual drive to travel. When we watch the replay of their movement on the app, they go down to the end of the pasture, graze their way back up, travel back down, and graze back up. That biological need to move is being satisfied, and we're still getting the concentrated impact we want in that small footprint in the right time frame. That will change during kidding. Long, narrow pastures with newborn kids and a long distance to travel between water and forage isn't going to work. We'll adjust. The beautiful thing about NoFence is the flexibility. We can change the pasture shape in the app in seconds. We don't need an hour and a crew to move fence. Now, let me tell you what the brush is actually looking like. The goats are in the sagebrush, walking on it, eating it. There are leaves on the ground from them stepping through the brush. They're eating rabbit brush that's in bloom right now, which I think is supposed to be at its least palatable this time of year, but apparently our goats didn't get that memo. The prickly pear is seeing some impact too. Our goal isn't to get rid of sagebrush, just thin it out so it's not the dominant species. My dad came out last week to watch us move to a new pasture and see the virtual fence and what the goats were doing out there. He's 81 years old and has spent decades in rangeland management and regenerative grazing, primarily cattle and some sheep. He has never really worked with goats. And he was surprised at how thorough the distribution and impact was. Where cattle tend to stay in between sagebrush plants, the goats were on top of the sagebrush, in it, all over it. Very well distributed. He said he thought they might stay tighter, stick to paths in between the brush. Instead, they were everywhere. That actually makes a lot of sense when you think about the numbers. When you compare goats and cattle consuming the same amount of forage, same pounds of dry matter, you need roughly 6 to 12 times as many goats as cows. The actual number depends on cow size and goat size. With very large cows, you might have 10 to 12 goats per equivalent cow unit. Smaller cows, 6 to 8. Either way, you've got 6 to 12 times as many feet on the ground per pound of forage consumed. That's a very different kind of impact. And goat feet are different from cattle feet. We're not seeing pugging, which is the deep, damaging impact you get when cattle are on wet ground. Goats are in an area for a day, then they're out. Even with the recent rain, they're making small hoof disturbances, planting seeds, disturbing the soil surface in a way that's beneficial, not deep and damaging. That's what we want in this sagebrush country. Now, I want to be really clear about something important before I wrap this episode up. NoFence is amazing. I am genuinely impressed. But it is not a replacement for electric netting. It is not a replacement for physical perimeter fence. NoFence themselves are clear about this. You still need a physical boundary. We're still using electric netting. We are still building new perimeter fence. NoFence is a tool that lets us get to places our other tools haven't been able to reach yet, and get the kind of meaningful stocking density and impact that will move us forward in our regenerative efforts. That's what it is, a tool. A valuable tool for this ranch, especially used in combination with electric netting and permanent perimeter fence. The customer service has been phenomenal. Every time I had a question, I could call and get someone. They were supportive of the experiments we wanted to try and gave us real insight from their experience about how things might play out. If you're running two species, cattle and goats, or sheep, run on the same app. You assign them to different pastures or the same pasture. The guard dogs have collars too and can be given their own boundary, either matching the goats or a larger buffer pasture around them. We haven't fully explored that buffer yet, but it's coming. Speaking of cattle, we're putting NoFence collars on the Dexter cows this week. I'm excited to have something to report on that front soon. This is a progress report, not a final assessment. We've had to figure some things out, and we'll have more to figure out as we go. But what we're seeing right now with 105 does in the beginning stages of grazing 250 acres of sagebrush that we've never been able to touch before, coming in on their own with good fill and thoroughly covering the ground, is better than what we could have imagined when we ordered those collars. If you want to try NoFence, check the show notes for the discount code and a link. And then let me know what you think. And we'll see you next week. Hey there, thanks for listening today. If this episode was helpful, share it with another producer who's raising goats. And if you haven't already, leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts. It helps more serious livestock owners find the show. As always, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for veterinary advice. I'll see you next week here on GoatWise.